In today's episode, we'll dive deep into one of the most mind-boggling criminal cases from the early 2000s. Meet Jeffrey Alan Manchester, a man who became infamous for his brilliant, yet criminally twisted, series of robberies. This is the story of the Roofman, an audacious thief whose criminal methods stunned not just local police, but the entire nation. Let's break it down step by step, as we dive deeper into the psychology, methods, and motivations behind these bold heists. On May 20th, 2000, in Belmont, North Carolina, McDonald's opened its doors early in the morning for the usual breakfast rush. Employees began arriving, getting ready for another typical day. They prepped the food, organized the kitchen, and made sure everything was in order. But that morning would prove far from ordinary. As the store was just starting to open, a mysterious figure appeared from nowhere inside the manager's office. The manager screamed in shock. There were no customers yet, and there shouldn't have been anyone in the office. The intruder had somehow made his way in unnoticed. The question on everyone's mind was, how did this man gain entry to a locked area? And why wasn't anyone aware of his presence? This mysterious intruder was none other than Jeffrey Alan Manchester, who would later be known as the Roofman. With calm precision, he pulled a gun on the manager and ordered the employees into the cooling room. The manager, though terrified, locked the employees in the room as instructed. With the staff out of sight, Manchester calmly walked over to the manager's safe, where the cash was kept, and demanded money. The manager complied, handing over the cash. But here's the most shocking part of the robbery. The Roofman didn't make his escape through the front door or even the back. He used the roof. This wasn't just an ordinary escape, it was a signature move that would soon become infamous. The Roofman's ability to escape undetected became a trademark of his criminal career. So why McDonald's? Why target this particular chain over and over again? The answer lies in the architecture. McDonald's stores across the United States are built on a similar blueprint. All of them share the same layout, which made it easy for Manchester to plan his robberies with precision. He knew exactly where the manager's office, the cash register, and the cooling rooms were located in every store he targeted. This knowledge allowed him to replicate his robbing method across 40 different McDonald's locations, striking fear and confusion everywhere he went. The Roofman was not just any thief, he was an expert at exploiting the uniformity of the McDonald's system. This gave him the upper hand over law enforcement and security measures. Despite his methodical and seemingly flawless robberies, Manchester never resorted to violence. He never harmed anyone during his heists. This was a key aspect of his criminal persona. The police were stumped. Why rob if he wasn't motivated by greed or a desire to hurt others? His crimes seemed almost impersonal, as if he were carrying out an academic exercise in theft. This left investigators scratching their heads. There seemed to be no rhyme or reason to his actions. Why did he do it? Was it purely for the thrill, or was there a deeper motivation behind it? Despite the growing list of robberies, Manchester remained elusive. He had an uncanny ability to evade capture, and police struggled to put together a solid lead. But eventually, after robbing yet another McDonald's on May 22, 2000, the Roofman made a fatal mistake. This time, the manager was quick to tip off the police. The authorities were prepared for this robbery, and they managed to track Manchester down. After a brief chase, they finally arrested him. But it was during his interrogation that the true depth of his story began to emerge. Jeffrey Alan Manchester wasn't always a criminal. Born and raised in California, he was a model student and served as a soldier in the U.S. Army. His life took a turn However, after a series of professional setbacks, despite his best efforts, he faced constant demotions and his career stalled. These disappointments fueled a deep sense of frustration. He became disillusioned with the system, questioning his future and the fairness of the world around him. This frustration eventually led him to a life of crime. He saw the rules of society as something to be broken, and robbing McDonald's became his way of getting back at the world. After his arrest, Manchester was sentenced to 45 years in prison for his series of robberies. But rather than resigning himself to life behind bars, he began to plan his escape. He befriended other inmates and gathered intel on the prison's layout. For 4 years, he played the role of the perfect prisoner, gaining the trust of the guards. He knew that if he played his cards right, he could eventually escape. His patience paid off in 2004 when he finally found an opportunity to break free. On June 15, 2004, during a heavy rainstorm, Manchester saw his chance. He hid in the back of a truck that was leaving the prison workshop. The guards were busy checking trucks that day, but they didn't conduct a thorough inspection due to the bad weather. This gave Manchester the opportunity to slip through undetected. He spent the next few hours hiding in the truck, and by the time the police realized what had happened, he was long gone. The roofman had once again escaped justice. After his daring escape, Manchester knew the police would be looking for him. So he did the unthinkable. He hid in plain sight. He took refuge in a local toy store, blending in as a regular customer. He carefully observed the store, learning its layout, the locations of security cameras, and the schedule of the employees. Over time, he even found the perfect hiding spot, a concealed area in the store where he could remain undetected for days. But even with all of this preparation, Manchester's need for money began to weigh on him again. He had no legitimate income, and he was running out of options. At this point, Manchester's criminal nature reasserted itself. He decided to rob the very store he had been hiding in. However, when he went to the manager's office, he discovered something that derailed his plans. The store only had toy guns. He needed a real firearm to intimidate the manager, so he quickly formulated a new plan. He would rob a local gun shop to obtain the weapon he needed. But this decision would ultimately lead to his downfall. After acquiring a real gun, Manchester returned to the toy store and attempted to rob the manager. This time, however, things went wrong. An employee noticed something suspicious and alerted the police. Once again, the roofman was on the run, but this time, he made a critical error. Instead of escaping through his usual routes, he ran to the maintenance room of the store. The employee saw him and immediately notified the police. This time, the authorities were ready. The police quickly checked the store's maintenance room and discovered a hidden underground warehouse. Inside, they found signs that someone had been living there, CCTV cameras, food, and other supplies. The police quickly realized that this wasn't just a robbery. It was the work of a man they had been chasing for years. They traced his fingerprints back to the infamous roofman, who had robbed over 40 McDonald's locations. The police were closing in on Manchester. They issued a public alert with his photo, offering a reward for anyone who could help capture him. It didn't take long for a tip-off to come in. A person from the local church where Manchester had been hiding came forward. The police quickly surrounded the church, where Manchester was caught and arrested once again. This time, there was no escape. In court, Manchester was sentenced to life in prison. His story had come to an end. The roofman, a man who had been a master of escape, had finally run out of chances. The judge was firm in his decision. ensuring that Manchester would never have the opportunity to hurt anyone again. The authorities also made it clear that he would be heavily monitored from now on. There would be no more slip-ups. Jeffrey Allen Manchester's story is one of intelligence and wasted potential. Had he used his talents for good, he could have gone far in life. Instead, he chose a path that led him to a life of crime and ultimately to a life sentence. His story serves as a powerful reminder of the choices we make. Intelligence and skill are gifts, but how we choose to use them can shape our entire future. Had Manchester chosen a different path, he could have lived a life of success and fulfillment. Instead, he's now behind bars, a cautionary tale of what happens when talent is misused. If you found this analysis fascinating, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of mysteries, crimes, and mind-boggling cases. Until next time, stay safe and remember, every choice has consequences.